Okay, hello and welcome to the Indigenous Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today I have Addelina Lucero with me. She is the owner and operator of Dancing Butterfly Naturals um, at Taos Pueblo. So if you just want to introduce yourself, Adelina, and then we'll get into the discussion and the questions.
Sure. Yeah. Good morning, Cecilia. Thanks for having me on. Good morning, everybody. My name's Addelina Lucero. Nam til mo etamai. I am Dancing Butterfly. I'm from Taos Pueblo. I'm a mom, grandma, um, farmer, traditional farmer, seed saver, and food activist. I work with indigenous food systems, and yeah, I'm happy to be on your show. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us. I guess to get started, I'm wondering if you can just tell us about your business. What is Dancing Butterfly Naturals and how did you get started?
Okay, yeah. So Dancing Butterfly Naturals is, well, I'm the owner, operator, and I'm the formulator. So basically, I formulate all the products that are in this business. We're specialized, it's a small business that specializes in natural, organic, indigenous, high quality body care products like shampoos, soaps, lotions, salves, scrubs. I make my own herbs and oils as well. And these all reflect my Taos Pueblo and Yaqui roots. They're pure natural, handmade, and everything is created fresh and in small batches by my hands. Um, let's see. So it's a home-based business that I started back in 2014. And really, what it is, as a Taos Pueblo traditional farmer and seed saver, um, I've always worked towards the goal of helping my community as well as other Native communities return to traditional community values regarding food systems, which included the use of our food as medicines. And our medicines can be and should be used every day, right? I strive for this goal in creating my products as a constant effort to replace ones that carry harmful or biological disrupting chemicals and unnatural ingredients. So I apply my traditional knowledge of plants and herbs into all Dancing Butterfly Naturals products, as well as using academic research, instructional, and testing on my own family. So I have this saying, it's not tested on animals, it's tested on aunties, cousins, and sisters. So, that's it.
That's funny. That's awesome. Um, so is your business like a sole proprietorship? Is it LLC? Like kind of what is your business structure like?
It's an LLC, and at this point in time, I'm considering and have been offered, investors or I want to grow. So there's opportunity for, the potential taking on silent partners or moving in another direction in order to accommodate that growth.
That's exciting. So
Very.
do you run your business off out of Taos Pueblo or are you off of the Pueblo? Do you have your workshop? Like what does that look like?
So my workshop is both on and off the Pueblos. I harvest and I grow on my tribal lands, on my Pueblo lands. I do process, including drying and creating the oils there at the Pueblo. But I have a workshop in El Prado,
Mhm.
at my sister's house, actually.
So just getting a little bit more into the story of like your business's origin, like what led you to start it? Like why did you decide one day that you were gonna start creating these types of products and then turn it into a business?
Yeah, so that was definitely never a plan, to turn this into a business. I was my children, farming and working the land, getting reconnected. I didn't grow up here at House Pueblo. My children, I brought them home 13 years ago to reconnect, and um, my son was going through his cultural time, and we were growing corn. We were really just kind of invested in land, learning about the medicines and the plants, and it was a really cool time, and really going through that process for 2 years, and just completely living off the land. We didn't buy anything at the store. All our shampoos were like the Yucca shampoo, for instance. That was the very first product I created. And my son had a toothache one time. I talk about this in almost every interview I do because it's really cool. He had a really bad abscess, actually, not just a toothache, and we used the red willow to cure that, and it took care of it within a couple of days. So just really realizing that connection we still have with our plants and how effective they are, and using them, and realizing how healthy and how great we felt, during those times. I wanted to maintain that. So once that this time was done, really, we just try to continue planting. Every year we plant something little, even if it's just a little garden, harvesting and processing, our plants. And eventually my daughter started asking me, hey mom, can you do this sugar scrub? This seemed really cool. Can you make this? I took a class with Lucy McCall, learned how to formulate a lotion in a better way using, yeah, more natural ingredients, because, I was just kind of doing research and finding out how to do some of this stuff. And a lot of it was like melt and pour in the very beginning, when I made soaps. Sure, it was pure glycerin, but I was using food coloring, like I didn't know what I was doing. So I've taken formulation classes and learned from there, but really wanting to um, use the plants, use the medicines, and into the best way, I possibly could, which is what led me to more formulations, learning how to process my own oils, how to, crush seeds and create seed oils, those kind of things. So it was really just this love. We have a motto, Dancing Butterfly Naturals motto is to love yourself from the inside out. And that means taking care of yourself from the inside out. And it's really about whatever we consume or take in, it's reflective of our outside appearance. So it's not just in regard to food, it's in regards to how we talk, how we pray, are we drinking enough water throughout the day, those kind of things. So all our products are reflective of this philosophy, and being kind to yourself and be considerate in what you're taking in your mind, body, and spirit, and how you're treating Mother Earth and how you're treating other people, right? And so this was something that I wanted to do. And I think after so many years, I've gotten there. The formulations are consistent. The products are consistent with this philosophy. And I'm really happy that they're in this place where um, I can now sell to stores and feel good about the product that I'm putting out, and knowing that it fully embraces that philosophy, and giving back in that way. So that's really about where it just was continuity as well, wanting to continue feeling that way, that good way, but also that connection to our Mother Earth, and that reminder of taking in these beautiful plant medicines every day.
That's beautiful. It sounds like you've had quite a journey up until this point, but you did mention wanting to potentially expand and grow. So what are your hopes for the coming years as you continue to build Dancing Butterfly Naturals?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had opportunities at different times, and one opportunity I have right now, it's just an interest and a discussion I'm having with Walmart Canada. Now, I would never do this with Walmart here in the United States, just simply because of, regulations in the United States do not match what is going on in Canada or in the EU, for instance, in regards to, healthy, products. Really, I mean, we have organic, but our organic standards are almost a joke in this country. And so when you're looking at, these high and strict standards in another country, and the potential of having my products there that would be directly aimed at Indigenous people, and the fact that they want to work with Indigenous makers, right? It's kind of exciting and scary, but I'm not sure that I, could even reach that potential. But it's good to have that discussion and see where I'm at, and see what's needed and see if they're willing to hold my hand, if I can really truly get those investors and those people. I'm looking to grow. I'm looking to grow and I've taken my time with this business over the last several years for a lot of reasons, financial being the main ones, right? Capacity. It's just me. At some points in time, I have had other people working with me. I have a virtual guru who's quite incredible, but she does all my online presence, my writing, my website stuff, and she's based in Canada. So she's the only other person besides my mom who helps me package and stuff like that. So it's kind of hard, but I see this, if this works, I want that potential for growth to get out there, um, a little bit more into another country first. Nationally, we do have a national audience, but it's fairly small. We're based in 10 stores throughout the country right now. And I've shipped my free radical oil to no, 9 countries now. So but those are individual. They're not the bigger purchases. So growing my wholesale market is a big, big, big plus for me because that's gonna take off a lot of edge of all the traveling I do throughout the country. Although I love the travel to meet other people and go into Indigenous communities, I mostly attend Indigenous events including food and farming, food sovereignty and farming conferences across the country. But it takes a toll, on the travel. It's hard on me as I'm getting older and want to stay more land based. Here in Taos, I'm a farmer, as I've mentioned, and it's been hard on my farming these years to be so far away. So growing that wholesale market, developing the retail, and making a stronger web presence, my web store. I do have a good audience, I feel, at this point. I think I've grown that and it continues to grow. People ordering through my online store. So that is something maybe eventually, a brick and mortar, here in Taos would make me happy. But I don't know, I don't know about the possibility. So those are focuses for this year.
Definitely a lot of possibilities, but it does seem like you've come really far from when you just started to now. And then, so it's exciting to look forward, but it's also good to look back and see like how far you've come. And you kind of mentioned some of this in your previous answer, but I'm wondering if you can speak a little more about maybe some of the challenges that you've faced while starting and growing your business, and how you overcame those challenges, or if you're still kind of trying to work through some of them.
Yeah, definitely. Financial is always a concern. Being any kind of business, I think if you're not some kind of corporation, it's always a challenge, right? Um, I got to pay myself. I've got to pay the business. I've got to pay people to help me. I've got to pay contractors and suppliers and buy ingredients and those kind of things. So that is always a challenge. Capacity, as I mentioned. I have had great people working with me, but I don't have the money to constantly pay them. So I wish that I could have the money to hire people pretty consistently. I've had loans. I had a still paying through this loan, but we went through this loan last year. It was about a year and a half that it took to go through it through Native Women Lead, and that was wonderful because I was able to maintain a full-time employee, for that year and a half time, and that really helped grow the business. It was myself, that employee, and our virtual guru that I was able to pay and keep a consistent staff and be supported myself. Um, the other challenges, and I don't think I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this, and probably because it's a negative. But I think people out there should hear this, especially in our Native communities, Indigenous communities. There's, what we call our so-called haters or things like that. There have been people from my community, and maybe not necessarily from my community, but the town that have, had negative things to say about me, about my business, and um, it in effect, it saved me some trouble, but in some points in time, ruined opportunities because people were, reaching out to places that I wanted to deal with and were, saying things about my business or whatever, But at the same token, it was as hurtful as it was, it also made me more determined. It also drove me to a place where I was like, okay, no longer am I doing melt and pour, with this food coloring, for instance. It was after this time, but just as an example, it was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna buy sage oil online. I'm gonna learn how to fricking make sage oil, and it's gonna smell like the sage out here. And so I learned distilling properties. It really put me in an uncomfortable place that is now why I call myself an Indigenous formulator because I earned that title because this is what I do. This is what I do, and I'm really good at it, and I'm really proud of that. So thank you, haters. Um, so those are some of the things, and then obviously the limited support that's available within our communities. I know this might be something you'll ask me, but working with New Mexico Community Capital, Native Women Lead, the RDC, these kind of resources have been invaluable. The people who put on the shows, like the Poe Marketplace, Pathways, Kateri Martinez, who does the shows at the Cities of Gold, like consistently providing a venue and a space for Indigenous creators. When I first started out, nobody really was doing what I was doing and selling at places, other than farmers markets. And I started getting invited as an artist at the Taos Pueblo artist markets, and it was so awkward. Like I'm like there with Angie Yazzie and Ira Lahan and all these great people who are doing artwork, and I'm like I make soaps, like how do I fit in here? So now that they've created, space for us and other people who are now creating, we work with a lot of wonderful people like Fry Bread Cosmetics, and there's a lot of people who are doing this now, and it's incredible to see and to see it as an art form because it is. We're using our indigenous ingredients in ways that, I think our ancestors would be really proud of. So, yeah, those are some of the pitfalls.
That's awesome. I think the fact that you distill your own oils is like that sets you apart from a lot of skincare companies. And I think that's really awesome. And like you said, really paying tribute to your ancestors and that knowledge and really, being in touch with the land. And it makes your products more appealing in my mind as well. And like I said, sets you apart. Um, and I'm glad you mentioned some of the organizations that did help you out because I was going to ask you what people, organizations, and resources have helped you along your journey. So if you want to expand on that, you can. But in addition to that, I kind of want to ask, like, where can our current entrepreneurial ecosystem and like the state of New Mexico maybe do a better job about at supporting small Indigenous owned businesses like yourself? I'd love to get your experience and your thoughts on that.
I think a couple of great experiences that I've had have led me to believe that this is wholly possible. Like Native Women Lead, for instance, the Matriarch Loan Fund. They've identified and they've realized that obviously, you know, for how many generations, Native women businesses are investable, right? Profitable. We are the backbones of our community in cultural ways, but also large earners in our families, people making bread, selling pies, selling jewelry, selling, their artwares and, like people who like me who make soaps and things like that who are selling them and supporting their families, and keeping that dollar local, right? But you go to a bank, they're not going to loan you anything. We don't own anything. I don't own any property. I don't own my vehicle. I do have some land at the Pueblo. That's not something that we could put up. So because we spent our time, our lives, taking care of our families and things like that, we don't always have something, collateral that the banks can use. So this particular loan was something that they backed. We got the loan. The very first loan I got from them was 5,000, and that $5,000 you pay pretty regularly. And they had some other criteria, but the gist of it was you pay, half of that, they pay the other half, and then the bank is satisfied, right? And then the bank can look at you later on and say, hey, this is being reported. This is a loan, from Nusenda Bank. So it was a partnership. The second loan I got was 8,000, same thing, a little bit more, stuff that I had to do with it, but it was, there was some credit counseling and some other information. And then they partnered with New Mexico Community Capital. So they were giving us marketing, business branding support, and teaching us, methods of growing our businesses, and so that was a plus. The bigger loan was 30,000, and that was like something that was incredible. Like I said, that just helped carry the business, that helped me, up my branding, and just do a lot more things than I could have done. Now, I could have borrowed more. The thing was that I already had the other loan, and I was like, well, I don't want to be overwhelmed. So they talk to you about that too. So there's the credit counseling that comes with it. There's the constant support, right? And the building of the marketing classes. You're hearing real women entrepreneurs who are successful, hearing successful stories. And it's just built around this whole level of support that we're not seeing or getting anywhere else, right? Now I see the UNM Noble Rainforest is starting to do this and starting to partner and starting to work with us. And I say other businesses, if they're interested in working with us, really take a look and recognize who we are as backbones of this community. We've carried this community. We've carried our communities in a lot more ways, including, in our, indigenous food system, which involves the economic portion of that, right? So we know how to do this. We just need people to trust and invest in us.
Great. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Um, my next question is, how has entrepreneurship impacted your overall life and well-being? Whether it's like been positive, negative, a mix of both, because I know it's kind of a mixture sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's positively impacted me in so many ways. It's challenged me, it's challenged me to grow. It's challenged me to get out of comfort zones. It's super scary, because now I don't have a check coming from somebody. I have to create that. And as somebody who really does like a challenge, that was something that I was up for, but not always up for it, because then now I got to make my own hours. Now I got to be a business person, and I got nobody to tell me what to do. But after years and years of working for people and having it working for other people, we're working for other communities and things like that. Um, I've been in everything from apparel manufacturing to working for the Los Angeles Superior Court, all the way into, international marketing and um, customer support and things like that. And so I realized like I really have been working since I was 14 years old. I've raised three children on my own, and it's stressful, to be at work every day and have this impact of time, this concept of time put upon you when you're stressed, when you're doing it, whether you're alone, you're in a partner, you have all these, kind of stresses. And so some days where I just need to, this whole concept of self-care, came to me through this process and going, wow, I just need to sleep, and I need to rest. I need to not take that meeting. I need to do this or that. And I get to focus on family a lot more. I've raised two of my kids, like absolutely hardly ever being there for them because I couldn't get the time off of work, and the last two being able to be there for their games and go see them. My daughter now lives in Wisconsin, able to get out there, go see my grandbaby in Connecticut, and take my son down to NMSU and spend a few days there with him. And it means so much because I don't have to call nobody and report off. I can be on my phone and still do my customer support or not, you know. And it's that people I don't even think realize the value of that, especially our younger people. I had an assistant who worked for me and was just, enamored with the idea of being a businesswoman and what that means. I think in the Western Euro culture of overworking and hustling all the time. And I think she used to get a little disappointed because I didn't hustle all the time. And I told her, I'm tired, man. I got a lot of things going on in my life and I just want to rest. And being able to try to share that with her and realizing as a young person, as a young mom, you don't always got to hustle, girl. You don't always have to. And I know you have all this energy and things in you, but use that for something like spend time with your son, spend time with your community, do something else. It doesn't always have to go to a company, you know? So I think values like that, coming from having my own business and being an entrepreneur, are good. The bad parts, I think I saw very initially on some disappointment from family and friends and people saying, wow, yeah, now you're just going to struggle, you know, how, because I still had two younger children at home, at the time, no, not young, but like high school and junior high. And, how are you going to get that done? Now you don't have any insurance. Now you don't have that. And constantly not having money, when there came times to do things, there was like a little bit of disappointment there. And now I think my family has and friends have seen all the work I put into this, and I do have their support. Like I have an undying amount of support. And that's the other thing, positive. Building this big network of people who just love and support you. And it's surprising where they come from sometimes. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's my mental health is so much better. Um, my I think I've gotten a little lazy in terms of being a hustling businesswoman. I'm trying to do that this year, but really it's a beautiful path to be on. I love it.
And that balance that it provides, or at least that choice of I get to choose what I'm gonna do with my time, and you get to choose, okay, I'm gonna work on the business at this time, I'm gonna go support my child at this time. Like, I think that's really nice, and definitely a plus when it comes to being your own boss. Um, you touched on this a little bit, but how do you think like supporting entrepreneurship and like having resources and education like through New Mexico Community Capital, Native Women Lead, AIBE, UNM Rainforest, but also like in the community, how do you see that impacting like your overall community, to just support entrepreneurs and also show the youth like this is a possible path for you?
Yeah, I see that as, being pretty incredible. When I started going to the Native Women Lead events, this will be 5 years ago that I started my business, like full went on, with the LLC and everything shortly after that very first one, because I just got fired up, before I was just selling here and there and didn't really see a whole lot of people doing it. There was Bison Star Naturals that were, out there doing their thing, and um, everything else was kind of just like an individual here or there. There's definitely a lot of success stories coming from Taos Pueblo. We have some beautiful, creative, humans there. But I would say as a whole, it was a lot of people selling in the Pueblo, you know, and then we see the closures that are happening. So that makes it hard every year, right? And then the pandemic that broke a lot of people, made a lot of people's businesses close, but it also inspired and brought up a lot more. And so I'd say from my time there, I know I've personally referred three of the five businesses that are four, three of the four. Yeah, no, it's five, including me, that are now, have gone through New Mexico Community Capital and work through that support. And I see this these businesses that otherwise may not be, um, being supported and being surrounded, and that man, they've just grown, um, it's pretty incredible. So I'd say, we've got CJ's, Dawn Butterfly Cafe in the Pueblo. I mean, like everybody's dying to go to Starbucks, let's go to Starbucks. They create a Starbucks. But now our Pueblo kids have a freaking coffee house there that offers not only like really cool blends and treats, but they're all in mostly indigenous, not indigenous mind created, but indigenous ingredients and flavors. And they're seeing this guy do this in such a brilliant way. I mean, he's using freaking batteries and he's running a whole kitchen there. It's so cool. So they get to see this. They get to see somebody, you know, um, that was selling their jewelry, um, the Morningstar Flower Arts, like they're seeing them go from, yes, they had a store, yes, they were creating smart, but now they're big. They're going to all these shows, they have a website, there's a whole lot of possibility in this. There's a whole lot of, I think, little fires being lit in the children's eyes and our community in general. I think it's just such a wonderful thing to see, and again, invest in us. This is possible. We can keep not only the money local, but we can, grow and create whole families that are, supporting without all the stresses of having to work for, I you know let's say you were working in town. I mean, it's not to put anybody down. I know it's really hard out there, but there's not a lot of people who can go work in the restaurant industry, or, that work in cycles. My son did a couple jobs recently when he came home, and he was told he was going to work A, B, and C and this many hours. And then they're like, oh, yeah, we don't need you tomorrow. Like, how can you make, thankfully, it was just this time off for the holidays. But, how can you make a living, doing stuff like that? So, definitely, there's opportunity and people are seeing it now.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see the movement that's just happened within the past couple of years too. It's just getting started, I think, and you and some of the other entrepreneurs that you've mentioned are the trailblazers. You guys are really creating that path for others to follow. So I commend you for that. And it's been really awesome listening to your story. And I love your business and your products. I've been on your website like several years ago, and like I go on again, and like you've definitely evolved, and it's really cool to see. Your website's awesome. And it's like I'm on there now, and just a little plug for you. She has a lot of really great skincare, shampoo, a deadly auntie set. It's really cool. So, anyone listening, go on there and check it out. Um, you also have Valentine's Day gift box specials, I see, coming up for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're so cute. I'm gonna buy some. I've been on your website and I'm like, I just like can't decide. I think that's my problem is all your products look so awesome that I'm like, I just want it all. Um,
Thank you. Well,
yeah.
one thing I forgot to mention, I am, in regards to doing the subscription service, I am going to, I'm working on reducing waste as well. So, doing refills this year, and also because it used to just be for people who were local, but I'm doing it now for all my web, orders, and also just focusing on people who want, because I've heard the same thing from a lot of people, and I'm going to do sample sizes of these things. So they'll just be available in sample sizes so you can try stuff for a cheaper price.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love your stuff. I want to try your yucca shampoo for sure. Um, no, I want to try everything, like I said. Um,
Thank you.
but so you might get an order from me later today. We'll see.
Okay.
Um, and one thing I wanted to mention too before I ask you, the last question that I have for you is I saw that you're currently fundraising, correct?
Yes.
For your Atole face mask, I believe.
Yes. Hmm.
Do you want to talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, so I've created this Atole face mask, and it had its pitfalls, it's like kind of some funny stuff where it fermented, and like poor thing, it like blew up in this customer's face. It didn't like hurt them, but it like kind of went, you know.
Yeah.
And so it was a long process of learning how to actually preserve that without adding, this is how I actually found out about vegan preservatives and things like that. So reducing the amount of blue corn, but not too much to where it didn't actually feel like it wasn't a blue corn mask. And so finally I got this product beautiful where it was. And this is my most math intensive, chemically uh, induced product I've ever made. It has 24 ingredients in it, and all of them are indigenous. And so I wanted to mass produce this, and I was like, how the heck am I going to do that? And there's no answers out there because people aren't really doing this unless like you're in India. Like I found a lot of research and things for people who are doing this stuff with the Ayurvedic stuff and things like that. And I'm like, well, they have different restrictions. Like, so how do I do this? How do I do this in this country, right? So I sent it to a chemist. So my first thing was really to get it balanced, pH balanced, and really figure out if I'm using exactly what I need to use and want to use for labeling properties and things like that. FDA doesn't really regulate super hard on stuff like this, but they do if you want to certify and call it organic or something like that, right? Now, the majority of the oils I use are organic. The beeswax comes directly from my bees here at the Pueblo, those kind of things. So I got it chemically balanced, pH balanced. I got it ready, and I got a really beautiful um, recipe back that can go to 1,000+ units, right? So this is ready, and it's been ready for 2 years. But I'm not ready. I didn't have the $13,000 that was needed. I still need $800 per ingredient. So we decided to keep three ingredients there that are from Taos Pueblo. So the Taos Pueblo heritage corn, which is my family's corn, the juniper ash, and it's the honey as well as the beeswax that comes from my bees. So those ingredients, the certification, FDA certifications, costs $800 for each of those ingredients. So 800 times four, and once those are certified, like basically, if I wanted to sell these to somebody else who was producing something, we could, and they can use this in a manufacturing. Will have this label and this. So it's kind of cool. So really, I want to mass produce this. I want to get it out there. And the whole thing about this mask is it's brightening, it's skin tightening, and it is just like super luxurious. It smells incredible. But you don't even just have to use it on your face. You can use it on your hair, which is really cool. So it provides a really nice um, restoring pH to your hair, right, and to your scalp. You can also use it on your body. Pregnant women can use it on the bellies. You can use it on your butt. You can use it on your thighs. You can use it anywhere. Like on your body. And that's the beauty of this mask. And I tried to keep it as close to what blue corn atole is, and the way we make it here. At home we call it fia, and it's with the blue corn and juniper ash. And so, yeah. So if people want to help support that, there's a GoFundMe link out there. It's going to go out, and hopefully it would be the first product in the Walmart Canada, but I want to shop it around to Sephora and maybe some other places here. And one of the big things I forgot to mention is looking at generational wealth. And when people hear that, they're like, "Oh, well, she just wants to get rich." Well, who doesn't? But like the reality is, it's like I don't want to, and I just want to be able to send my son to school. He's an aerospace engineer. He wants to go to MIT. Mama had got MIT money, but it'd be nice to be able to support him in that vision, and create that wealth for my family so they wouldn't have to struggle so much in their daily lives, and help my community a little bit more.
I think that's a really important topic too, the generational wealth. And I mean, like you said, who doesn't want to make money? It's not a bad thing to want to make money, and you're doing it to support your family, to support your community, so no one should bring shame on that at all.
Yeah. It's
Because
just a weird concept,
it's
right?
like,
Like
yeah,
like
like, especially I think coming, from Indigenous values as well, sometimes you get like comments about that. Um, I know my fiance has mentioned like stuff like that, but um I think it's an important thing, and like you said, you should be able to build that generational wealth. Like that's a great goal. That's the whole point of starting a business, right? Is to provide something that helps your community, helps your family, and then also, makes money for you so that you can continue to support your family and your community. So I'm
and
glad you,
retire like someday,
yeah,
right? Like I'd like to
exactly.
retire.
Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned that because it is an important part of the big picture, of why Indigenous entrepreneurship is important.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of your mask. It sounds amazing. I don't know if you have the like smaller scale production ones available for sale, but I might go buy one for myself. And I am going to include the GoFundMe link on this episode. So anyone
Thank you.
listening, go check that out and donate to help Adelina bring this product to mass production. It would be amazing and like such a huge step, I think, towards where you want to get to. So let's go help make that happen.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, of course. So, my last question for you, um, is if someone is interested in pursuing entrepreneurship but has not taken that leap, what is a piece of advice that you would give to them, or any words of wisdom, encouragement, hard truths, just something that you would want to share?
Yeah, I mean, just know that it's not all, peaches and cream, and it's not going to be the easiest thing. And as I mentioned, it's scary. It's scary stepping out on your own. It's scary to know that, you only have you to rely on. It's scary that people could, be disappointed in you rather than support you because you would think, oh, I'm doing this like when you were a kid, you sell cookies or something, and everybody's like, I'm going to buy those from you and support you. It's not always like that. I'm not saying it wouldn't be, but when things get hard, you only have you to fall back on. So there's a lot of those kind of stresses, but really it's also very empowering because then I only got me. Like I've got me to rely on, and I'm proud of me. Like to be able to have that kind of feeling for yourself, that pride, that joy of freedom, and creativity, and it's just it's I mean, like it is the most powerful feeling. Like honestly, it's so nice to know that, yeah, maybe I'm not making, $5,000 a month, like I could have if I were still in the nonprofit world, but I'm doing something I absolutely love and that keeps me grounded and connected. And so thinking about what you love to do, what you're good at doing, and what you're at the end of the day, through all the stresses and the fear and everything like that, you're going to be happy doing it. I would say that. And then I would say seek out other people and don't be afraid to ask questions because there are people out there, including, um, your auntie selling bread in the Pueblo or something like that, somebody selling corn, somebody farming and selling to a farmer's market. Don't discount them. They're entrepreneurs. They're making a living, they're making money, and they're doing it. Ask them.
Thank you. Those are good words of wisdom. So thank you for sharing. Um, well, I think that's the last question I have for you. the only other question is if people listening want to find your business or connect with you, where can they reach out? Where can they go?
Yeah, my website is www.dancingbutterflynaturals.com. We have social media, we have Instagram, we have a defunct TikTok, but there are some good videos on there of harvesting. And we do have a Facebook, so they're welcome to reach out. We do post all our shows and events. So find us at one of the events and come check us out. I always recommend for people, especially if you're local, to check out, like for you, Cecily, like if you really want to try a product, um, I don't always have testers, but sometimes I have testers, but like to smell things. Smelling is believing. Like, so when you can smell a product, I don't know if you've ever gone and you're like, oh my God, that's like, this is something really, natural or whatever. And then you smell it and you're like, what the heck is that? That doesn't smell like sage, for instance. You don't know how many soaps I smelled that said sage. And I'm like, oh my God, and it doesn't smell like sage. I want it to smell like sage after a rainy spring day. That's how I want it to smell. So when you smell that, you're getting a quality product. You smell it, you try it on, try on I love that when people come try on my lotion, they put it on and they're like, oh my God, this is so silky. And then they walk around and they're like, okay, I had to come back and buy this because this is great. And that always makes me feel really good. So, I'd say in person, if you can get to one of the in-person events so you can try and smell things.
Well, we will be doing an event in Taos with Aspen Song Kids on February 8th. He wants to do like a networking event, and our liaison, Scott Tafoya, who I believe has worked with you, is gonna
Yeah,
interview him like kind of live in the at the plaza. So we're gonna have that. So I will be in Taos on February 8th. So hopefully you can attend if you aren't busy, because we are inviting all the entrepreneurs to come, and we'll have a listening session so that we'll have like Taos Hive and the SBDC there as well for the listening session. So we can just get your feedback, your stories, and just it really be a time for the Taos Pueblo entrepreneurs to connect and express like, more of what your needs are for your community. So
yeah.
hopefully we will see you there.
I'm planning on being there. So
Okay.
it'd be nice to meet you in person. And yeah, Scott, I actually got a message from Scott. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time because I know you're really busy. You wear a lot of hats. You're not just a business owner, you're a mom, you're a grandma. So I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story with us. It's very inspiring, and I really just want to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you again. I do appreciate it, and I appreciate, that you all have stepped up and started working with and supporting, our Native entrepreneurs and Indigenous entrepreneurs. And I like listening to the stories, and I'm excited to hear more. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course. And like I said, one of the things we're really focused on is, learning and listening to what those needs are. So definitely open. You have my email. You want to send me any feedback or ideas, because we do want to help support what's already being done. We don't want to come in and say like, this is what you need to do because we don't know. And you guys are already doing it. So we just want to help kind of fill in those gaps where maybe there's a need.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much, Addelina. It's been a pleasure, and we will definitely talk to you later.
Yeah, talk with you. Take care, Cecilia.
Okay, thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye-bye.